For joining us today. This morning, I'd like to kick things off for this press briefing with a conversation with Dave Schmidt, our chief economist with the department. He's going to on the unemployment numbers for April. So I'm going to hand it over to Dave first.
All right, thank you, Director. This morning, DETR released information about Nevada's employment and unemployment in April. These numbers reflect the large impact that the COVID-19 shutdown has had on Nevada's workers. The seasonally adjusted unemployment rate rose to 28.2%, more than double the state's previous peak. The number of unemployed Nevadans rose to 424,605, not seasonally adjusted. Further, the labor force since February has declined by approximately 150,000 individuals. 573,000 Nevadans affected by the COVID-19 shutdown, over 36% of February's labor force. Further, this month's report shows how job loss was distributed across the state. Compared to last April, we show a decline of 255,000 jobs. This is a decline of 18%. However, due to the distinction between essential and non-essential businesses, there are significant disparities across industries. The accommodation and food service industry, the state's largest industry, lost almost 41% of its jobs compared to April of 2019. The administrative support industry lost over 28% of its jobs. Other services lost 25% of its jobs, and retail lost 21%. Meanwhile, construction added just 100 jobs, finance and insurance added 200, and the federal government, due to the 2020 census, added the most with 900 jobs. These are all sobering numbers, far in excess of anything we have experienced as a state before now. Nevada has the highest unemployment rate in the nation, ahead of number 2 Michigan, which had a rate of 22.7%. And Nevada now also has the highest unemployment rate of any state in any month back to 1976, when consistent data became available. In 1933, at the depths of the Great Recession, the national unemployment rate was estimated at about 25%. However, there are some important distinctions between what it was like in the Great Depression and where we are today. First, we reached this point through a rapid policy response to an emerging pandemic, not through years of grinding economic decline. This is important because individuals, families, communities, and companies are all better equipped to deal with a short-term shock than multiple-year stagnation. Today, we are just over 2 months removed from the onset of the COVID-19 shutdown, not years into a national recession. And the state is already shifting. Second, today we have a much more robust social safety net than we had in the Great Depression. And this is largely due to the national response to the Great Depression. We have multiple programs in place today to help people respond to a loss of income and a continuing source of food, shelter, healthcare, and wages, including Social Security, Medicaid, TANF, SNAP, and unemployment insurance, to name just a few. These programs are a vital support to individuals in their communities when there's a sudden loss of income, and that support was designed to blunt the vicious cycle of income loss, leading to reduced demand, leading to business failure and further income loss. In the last months, the unemployment insurance program alone has paid approximately $1.6 billion in benefits to Nevada, and that flows back into the Nevada economy to provide vital support to Nevada's people, families, and businesses. And to talk more about the impact that the employment insurance program has had, I'd like to welcome back Director Korbulik.
Thank you, Dave. So I want to thank everybody from the press for joining us today. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about the important work that we're doing here at the Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation. Moving forward, starting today and into the next few weeks or next months, I plan to give a press briefing every Friday around 10 a.m. I'm going to give an update on our weekly unemployment insurance numbers, our pandemic unemployment insurance numbers, and I'll be providing you with an update from the previous week. I'm going to use this opportunity weekly to answer the very many questions that we get from the press and that you've submitted throughout the week. So before I get into the nuts and bolts of our discussion today, I want to first thank the DETR team and their staff and our staff for our tireless efforts to support Nevadans. I also want to thank Governor Sisolak and his team for the tireless support that they have provided to our department during this trying time. It's also important that we reach out and acknowledge our sister agencies and departments throughout the state for all of their generous assistance that they've been providing. Finally, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank our federal and state lawmakers for their support, assistance, and engagement. We appreciate the offers of assistance from our unions, resorts, private company, and private citizens. So thank you to everyone. I thought we'd start today by first reviewing DETR's current statistics. I'll provide information and an update on the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA, and then go over our unemployment insurance numbers. Last week, DETR staff worked through the night and on Friday evening and stood up an enormously complex PUA assistance claims system that's located at employeenv.gov. I am extremely proud of the work that went into this tech project. And as of 7 a.m. this morning, over 59,000 Nevadans have successfully filed claim assistance. Week and moving forward, DETR will provide these numbers on PUA claims in our weekly UI numbers and in that release. PUA is a temporary program. It's entirely outside of our traditional unemployment insurance system, and it's designed to provide aid, not insurance, aid to people not eligible for standard unemployment insurance. That includes gig workers, contractors, 1099 tax filers. DETR IT staff and our project staff are working round the clock. We were up through the night last night to stand up the second and most complex part of the PUA build, and that's the payment system. It's targeted to go live tomorrow morning, Saturday, May 23rd. This means that, assuming everything goes well this evening, once the system is stood up as expected, filers will be able to begin filing weekly claims starting this weekend. Filers will be expected to file for each week that they've been eligible for. Because we must transfer information to banks and banks are closed for the long weekend, payments on these weekly claims can be expected to begin going out on Wednesday, May 27th. While tens of thousands of Nevadans have successfully filed claims in the PUA system, a small subset of filers are experiencing difficulties. I want to remind filers that there is a very comprehensive guide located at employeenv.gov. I also want to note that many PUA filers first filed claims on our UINV standard filing system. When someone files a claim for unemployment on our UINV system, DETR's process is to then connect them to employeenv.gov. PUA filers who already have an employeenv.gov account will need to use their existing login credentials to file a PUA claim. And this is the primary reason for some of the issues that some filers are experiencing. Now I'd like to talk about this chart that's next to me. It's really important to think through the definition of what standard unemployment insurance is. It is for individuals who lose their jobs through no fault of their own. These are people who employer paid into the unemployment insurance system and who both earned enough wages and worked enough hours to be eligible for benefits. As of May 16th, 480,718 total claims have been filed through our standard unemployment insurance on the UINV site. Of those, 96,205 were not eligible for standard unemployment insurance. Of eligible filers who filed weekly claims, 268,593, or 81% of those claims were successfully paid. In fact, it's important to note that it has one of the highest insured unemployment rates in the nation. DETR has paid out, as Dave said, $1.6 billion in unemployment benefits. Nevada has the most unemployed people per capita in the nation's insured workforce, and we paid out 81% of eligible claims week after week. We know that there is a lot of work to be done, and we won't be satisfied until everyone, but it is important to note that Nevada is leading among the states, and we have done it with a bare bones unemployment insurance crew and IT crew. Going back to the chart, 9,317 filers were employed or were not eligible because they had earnings that were for the week that were greater than their weekly benefit amount. So this could be people who got jobs or were paid out on leave that was over their weekly benefit amount. 16,092 claims had insufficient hours and or wages and were not paid on UI benefits, at least for this week's time period. 43,535 people did not file a claim for the week. So these are folks who may have started a weekly claim but didn't finish, or they never started, or they explicitly contacted DETR and told us that they were not going to file a claim for the week. Federal law requires that filers must file a weekly claim in order to receive payment. Finally, there are 46,956 people or claims that are in pending status. These are the filers whose claims are being held because federal and state law requires DETR to adjudicate their claim. While that number of this slice of the pie of the pending issues grows and shrinks daily, there was a week, and this number was over 120,000 claims. This number has been dramatically reduced as a result of the work from our unemployment division and our IT teams to find policy and technological solutions to automate the release of benefits. An example of people who have had and received an automated release is related to what's called an income deductible adjudication issue. Generally speaking, an income deductible issue is related to people who received a payout from their employer, leave or sick leave, or they're collecting other forms of income. DETR found automated solutions to connect those filers to benefits after the weekly claim had been made for 4 weeks. So most filers with this issue who filed in the month of March have been connected to benefits. The automated job to clear the income deductible issue runs regularly and continues to expedite the release of benefits to individuals with this specific issue on their claim. We have successfully addressed several different buckets of people who are pending in this adjudication queue through our automated approaches. However, we still remain responsible for the adjudication of each of those claims, and we will do those adjudications on the back end of release benefits. Of these remaining claims that are here still in this pending slice of this pie, 46,956, the largest pool here are individuals who have what are called separation issues, meaning there's a question about why or how they lost their job. As I stated earlier, unemployment insurance is for people who lose their job through no fault of their own. It is required by federal and state law that DETR determine the reason for discharge in order to mitigate the risk for both employees and employers. This is one of the many areas that DETR is actively working to find automated solutions to resolve those claims. We know that many separation issues are likely COVID related, and we're diving into this trend with both a policy and a technological solution mindset to expedite the release of payments. Another example, or an example of what we're thinking in this space is for people who said that they were discharged potentially for medical reasons. Those folks may mean that they were laid off as a result of the pandemic. So we're now working on these payments. Okay, I'd like to provide a few more updates on where we are as an organization. As you're aware, PUA launched this last weekend. Many tens of thousands of successful claims have been filed. Our call center is online and available to assist with all PUA-related claims. This Friday, or today, the 22nd of May, the call center and the Employee Envy site will be down after 5 p.m. to allow our call center staff the necessary training and our systems the necessary integration time to connect and stand up the payment systems for the PUA implementation. Both the standard unemployment insurance call center and the PUA call centers will be open on Memorial Day. Many people are calling and asking where we are on the topic of implementing our cloud-based call center, and I'm very happy to announce that we have begun that implementation. We're working on standing and implementing that call system into some of our smaller divisions to first test for functionality so that we can build it out and expand that call center or that call system into our claims and adjudication teams. Earlier this week, we were made aware that people with some specific mobile carriers have been getting an instant busy signal when they call our UI call center, even though there are lines available. We have been in touch with the mobile carriers, and they have been extremely helpful and are working towards a speedy resolution. Finally, DETR is staffing up to assist with the resolution of these pending claims. We're currently hoping to hire upwards of 140 people. That hiring process is already well underway, and that number of individuals will likely grow as the state reopens and as we continue to work through the unemployment insurance benefits. With that, Rosa, I'd like to see if there's any questions that I haven't answered in my comments that I need to address.
Thank you, Director. Our first question is from Jacqueline Schultz of Fox 5 Las Vegas, and her question is actually a two-part question. Is how is DETR managing fraudulent claims? People who are filing for unemployment are not receiving their money, but are getting information regarding their personal information somehow being used. What is the penalty for those individuals who are committing fraud, and what can the claimants do?
Okay, thank you for that question. It's a timely one. Fraud in unemployment insurance is a national story that Nevada is not immune to and is paying close attention to. So part of what we're intending to staff up is in our fraud unit. I will tell you that our fraud unit is working overtime themselves on addressing and identifying fraud in both the pandemic unemployment assistance systems and in the unemployment insurance system. We identify that and then take necessary action by getting the money back and or working towards the prosecution of the individual in question. Just to sort of, I think I've answered that question. I'll leave that there.
Thank you. So the second part of that question is, a couple of our viewers told us stories or have relayed to us of their debit cards being hacked and are working with the bank to get the funds back. Does DETR have any advice for managing funds on those debit cards? Should people transfer the funds immediately into their account?
I think that the individuals in question here who are working directly with their bank are doing absolutely what they should be doing. What you choose to do with those funds is entirely up to you. I think it makes sense to transfer it into your own personal account, but I won't insert myself into your financial situation.
Okay, the next question is from Cynthia over at Telemundo. And this might also be for David Schmidt. Please talk about where Nevada stands in unemployment in comparison with all the other states. According to Wallet Hub, Nevada is the #1 with the biggest increases in unemployment.
So Nevada is definitely the state with the highest unemployment rate this month. Nevada came in at 28.2%. Michigan was second with 22.7%. And Hawaii was third with 22.3%. This is very large increase, just a couple of months at our state's all-time low rate of 3.6%. So we're up over 25% from January until April. We've also seen a large increase in our insured unemployment rate, which is released weekly in our weekly claims report. This last week, we came in at number 2, just behind the state of Washington. As far as our overall unemployment rate, this is the highest rate that we've ever seen. It's the highest rate that any state has ever seen. And a base of that is because of what our economic mix is, because we have a very large share of employment in the accommodation and food service industry, which was hit very hard by travel-related shutdowns. We saw a corresponding impact to our unemployment rate. And hopefully as things start to reopen in those sectors, as it's done as responsibly as possible, we'll start to see that rate.
Alrighty. Next question is from Michelle Rindles at the Nevada Independent. What is the total number of weeks that a claimant could receive PUA benefits at this point? Is it the 39 weeks or is it something else?
Dave, you answered that nicely for me earlier, so I'll let you handle that.
So the maximum eligibility within PUA is a total of 39 weeks that can be reduced in particular circumstances. However, the program only began starting February 2nd in Nevada, and it's important that to be eligible for PUA, you have to be unemployed, partially unemployed, unable to work, or unavailable for work due to COVID-19. And so it's highly unlikely that there's a large number of individuals who are affected by COVID-19 at the beginning of February. So while there's potentially 16 weeks of benefits available, the maximum we would expect going back is about 10 weeks. And that would date benefits for most people about 29 weeks, potentially going forward, as long as they meet that COVID affected and unemployed criteria.
Okay, the next question is from Joe Moeller at Channel 8. People report having issues with backdating claims and not being able to enter the right dates at the times. What's the proper process for backdated claims? Now, this might be also a UI question
because we have not opened up the functionality for PUA claims. Do you want to try to answer that, or I don't know the system very well? Okay,
I can give it a shot.
Okay,
backdating claims is definitely a complex endeavor because there's a lot of different moving parts, including the fact that dating back to March 15th, there's been a quarter change, and quarter changes affect people's eligibility, the wages that are used on their claim and other factors as well. And so for some claims, there is the ability in place to, during the weekly filing date, individuals need to be cautious when doing this back to March if they have had inconsistent employment, because there's definitely the possibility of coming ineligible when they do that. For other people, the only way to get a back date at this point in time is a manual process, and due to the volume of activity in the call center, anything that's a manual process has the potential to be significantly delayed.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Jason Hidalgo, and he writes, what should people with unpaid claims that say, oh, for more than a month do? Should they call the phone lines or wait until the issue is addressed on their particular claim?
I would say that's up to you, and you can and should give us or try to get in touch with us. I want to also go back to the comments that I made earlier. Please make sure that if you're unable or you're getting a fast, busy signal, with your mobile carrier, that you potentially borrow someone else's phone with a different carrier to see if you can get through that way. We are working with the mobile carriers on trying to address that issue. And I would suggest that we are aware of every claim that is in holding, and we are working on each one of those. So if you want to call, that's your prerogative, and we're more than happy to answer your questions, but we will be getting to your claim. And go ahead, Jake.
And one other point, continue to file your weekly claims as well.
Yes.
If you are eligible, continue to put in those weekly claims so that when any issue on the claim is resolved, if you're eligible for payment, all of those back weeks can be released at the same time.
Alrighty, the next question is from Phoeben K at KVVU Fox 5. Many of our viewers are still saying it's been 5 to 6 weeks since applying and being approved, but have yet to receive $1. Can you speak to this?
Yeah, and I appreciate that question. Thank you. I think I'll refer back to the chart that I showed you earlier today, which is talking about the 4056 claims that are currently being held for adjudication. State and federal law require the department to adjudicate and manually adjudicate each of those. We are working on trying to find expedited, automated ways to release those benefits and adjudicate on the back end, but the remaining claims that are in this pending adjudication queue are very complex, and there aren't straightforward technological or policy things that we can do to immediately release benefits. We're working on this actively to try to find solutions, but we're also staffing up our call center and our claims adjudicators in order to try to address this as speedily as possible.
Alrighty, the next question might be for Mr. Schmidt. The record is from Paul Nelson at KTVN 2 News. The record unemployment numbers are staggering, but do we expect those to begin to drop now that some non-essential businesses are reopening?
That would definitely be the baseline expectation. It's important to note as we're moving through this that the employment and unemployment numbers, while they refer to the month of April, and next month we'll refer to the month of May, are looking at activity in a specific week. And it's the week that includes the 12th of the month. So for April, that was the week of April 12th to April 18th. Because of the timing of when these surveys are referencing, or what period they're referencing, and what the timing is with the phased reopening, May's data will still be very, very early, right around the start of phase 1. And so we may go another month at levels comparable to this. But then as more reopening starts to happen, we would expect to see people returning or being unemployed and re-engaged with the labor force and see those numbers fall.
Thank you.
Alrighty, and our final question is from Joe Mueller.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was just gonna say we have time for a few more questions.
Okay, yep, this is the last one.
Okay.
When filing for PUA, how do filers know their claim was an actual successful filing? Many viewers say that they filed, but they do not know if it will.
Kimberly, you're in, is there a way?
Yeah, there's actually a successful.
Okay. Okay, so you should receive a successfully submitted receipt, and it's in the PUA module itself. So you should have indication from your claim that it has been filed successfully by seeing successfully filed notes.
Comes up. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So again, I want to remind everybody that we plan to provide a press briefing weekly every Friday around 10 a.m. And I look forward to answering your questions in that time frame. So thank you again for your interest and your engagement, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you.